Welcome everyone for another episode of Life Stories Unscripted podcast. I'm your host Viviane and I'm a doula, a breastfeeding and newborn care specialist, and I talk about everything related to preconception, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and beyond. So if you're a parent or you're trying to be one, this is definitely the podcast for you, so make sure to stay tuned. Today, our guest is Petra Williams from Slovakia. She will be sharing 2 amazing birth stories with us and much more. Petra moved to Australia, but on the way there, she stopped in Britain, so she had the amazing opportunity to experience healthcare from 3 different countries, from 3 different angles. So I'm very excited for this. Petra is a transformational coach, and that's how I got to meet her. I went through my own transformational coaching training, so we will be talking about that a little bit more as well. So stay tuned. I'm very, very excited. If you have seen some of my previous episodes or you like this one, please make sure to subscribe, as it can help me spread and share the word together. Last but not least, this episode is sponsored by Perfecta Placenta, located in Beverly Hills. So if you want your miracle organ to be preserved and get 2 amazing gifts in the form of a stretch mark cream and a diaper bag, make sure to use my promo code DoulaViviane. For more information, you can reach me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or my email address, birthbyviviane@gmail.com. Without any further ado, let's jump in and talk to Petra. Enjoy. Hi, Petra. How are you?
Hi, Viviane. I'm really good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to have you here today with us so you can share your wonderful birth story with us, 2 birth stories to be precise, and tell us about the differences that are going on in the care about a mother during pregnancy and during birth and after birth. And since you had this amazing opportunity, I'm very excited to hear about it from your own perspective. I mentioned a little bit about you, but tell us what you do, who you are, and how you came to Australia, how you came to be a mom to 2 beautiful girls in Australia.
Okay, thank you. So professionally, I am a coach, like you mentioned, but first and foremost, I'm a mom, and I'm a stepmom as well. And I came to Australia because of my husband and with him. And I came to Australia when I was almost 7 months pregnant with my first daughter.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was very interesting because before we went to Australia, I lived half time in Slovakia and half time in the UK. So my pregnancy was actually tracked both in Slovakia and in the UK, just in case anything happened. So I have a bit of experience in Slovakia, a bit of an experience with midwives and the public system in the UK, and then between 6 and 7 months pregnant, I switched to the Australian system and care. So I'm very, very interesting. I have a lot of scans of my first baby.
I didn't know that you also had a chance to try the UK system when it comes to maternity and or taking care of a pregnant woman. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and so we wanted to go to Australia because of the change of lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And our first daughter just happened to join us right at the perfect time, to honestly, so to speak.
How did you find how was the change for you when you switched from Slovakia or UK and you traveled to Australia? How was that? How did you how did it affect you that you were pregnant and you were in a different country, and the time zone, everything? How did you adjust?
Mm-hmm. I don't remember the time zone being much of an issue, to be honest, but the truth is, in both of my pregnancies, I was very tired. Like, pregnancy was a very difficult time for me physically, like a very dark shadow time. But yeah, I don't remember so saying that, I was sleeping a lot anyway at all sorts of times. But the difference was that here in Slovakia, I'm saying here because I'm actually currently in Slovakia visiting family. But here in Slovakia, I had the check with my OB, which was my obstetrician, every month. And every time we would have a scan as well. So I would see the baby and get some pictures every month, which was very exciting. And also a bit nerve-wracking for me in the beginning because I had a previous miscarriage experience. So I had a bit of trauma from that. So I remember turning the 12 weeks mark was a big deal for me. So I was used to having lots of information, having lots of pictures, and then I switched to Australia, and I was just shocked how little they check, so to say. And I thought, oh, I'm probably going to be anxious from not knowing, but actually I found it very freeing. Like, of course, if the pregnancy is in some kind of danger, or if the mom or the baby is in any kind of danger, they track a lot.
Right.
But if the pregnancy is fine, and if you're as a mom, you're fine, and the baby is developing nicely, then it's like, it's okay. It's normal. And they do 2 scans through the whole pregnancy. Some people do 3. So roughly about the 12, 13 weeks, then like 24 or so, 26, and then sometime between 32 and 34 weeks to really check the size of the baby, the position, and all of this, pretty much to prepare for labor.
Right.
So that they know if they need to take any special measures or anything. But in the meantime, when I was seeing my obstetrician there, he just kind of checked my belly. We could hear the heartbeat every time. And he was like, hey, how are you feeling? Right. So it was a lot about me.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, okay, great. Just, chugging along, especially towards the end. And when I was talking to my friends back home in Slovakia, they kept asking these questions like, oh, and how long is the baby now? Or how much does it weigh? And I'm like, I have no idea. And it's fine.
Right.
It's different. It's different, and it's interesting when I was just used to, this is how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, as I experienced the difference, I felt it. I found it to be quite freeing because there's less comparison. So I just knew it's okay. I knew that my baby is healthy, or as far as you can tell from what you can see from scans, and that we're doing okay. I could see them, it's just track the movement, right? Just that the movement is there.
It's almost as if they give you it's almost as if they're giving you less to know about, so you worry less and you don't go on
Yes.
Google, the first thing after you come home, and you start researching and you freak yourself out to a point where it's harmful to you but also to your baby. So I understand, but I totally feel how it can be a shock going from a country where they check you every month and you take pictures and you have everything. You have a whole book of your baby, and then you come to Australia where it's see ya in 3 months.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did see my obstetrician like every month or so because I was so far
Right.
in my pregnancy. But there were no visual scans done usually. It was really just having a chat. I lay down, he had a feel of my belly, and we listened to the heartbeat, and that's it. And in 5 or 10 minutes I was gone again, because fortunately everything was okay.
Right.
So I find this like really nice. And I only had my private obstetrician because I came to Australia so late.
Right.
Because normally when everything's okay, you don't even need a private obstetrician. You just go through the public system, and then you don't even see a doctor. You see midwives the whole time.
That's what I wanted
And
to
if
ask. Like, is it
yeah,
mostly overlooked by midwives or OBs?
so if you're in public system, so if you don't want to go private, and there's really no special need. My case was that we wanted a specific hospital, and I could only get to that hospital because that was a recommendation, and I could only get to that hospital if I had a private OB.
Right.
And I was really lucky to have found this guy. But even though I was his private patient, I was in a public ward of that hospital. And there's pretty much no difference between the rooms in the public and in the private part. Funny enough, the legislation then was somehow funny. So in the public ward, we would have a birthing bath in each birthing suite, and you wouldn't have it in the private one.
Oh,
Yeah, like really weird. But generally, it's absolutely overseen by midwives.
Mhm.
And if you and your baby are okay, you don't even see a doctor ever, like during your birth. You just, yeah, afterwards, obviously, a pediatrician needs to sign off that the baby is okay before they release you from the hospital. And then you have a check after 6 weeks, right, with your private, or with your GP, actually, with the general practitioner, or with your obstetrician, like how you're healing and everything. But the doctors are not necessary because the midwives are so well trained, and of course there are some like procedures that they can do, and there are other procedures that they don't do. But for most labors, they can absolutely do it all, and I've seen it, and I've had wonderful midwives. Like my first birth was relatively long. I had something that they call long pre-labor. So I was in contractions for 3 days before anything actually started.
Mhm.
Um, and even on the 4th day, I was then in the hospital for like 20 hours before giving birth. So I had 3
Oh,
midwives in.
you were home.
Sorry.
You were home the first 3 days,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yes.
but you were on the phone with your midwife.
Well, so the thing is that we did quite a lot of
Mhm.
preparation, right? During pregnancy. We went to this course in the hospital to prepare for birth, and we got these like manuals preparing for birth for fathers and preparing for birth for mothers. um, and they really encourage for the mom to stay at home for as long as possible,
Mhm.
so that she's in her own environment.
Yeah.
Everything's calm, as she can do. They were just saying, do what feels good, right? So in the beginning, if you want to clean, or if you want to take a bath, or if you want to dance, or just relax on the couch, just do that. Ideally, if you want an active birth, just move around a bit. They also taught us massage techniques, how the partner can be really involved in the whole process actively. And the rule was that, so we called the hospital because we knew that there has to be like 3 contractions within 10 minutes. And the
Mhm.
thing with long pre-labor is that my contractions started, but they were very, very irregular,
Mhm.
meaning from like 10 minutes to half an hour, and they would stop for 2 hours, and then on and on. And it's all to do with the level of oxytocin in your body.
Right.
Uh,
Would you say,
so yeah.
would you say that the preparation that you were able to do with your midwives, that it helped you in the upcoming days to labor up until you were in labor for, or in pre-labor for the first 3 days, did that help you mentally, would you say?
Well, I haven't done any preparation with midwives because I was seeing my obstetrician, so I wasn't seeing the midwives. And I didn't call the hospital until the third day because I knew that the contractions are still like really on and off, and nothing else was happening yet. No other signs. But what really helped me the most to get through all of this was a wonderful pregnancy yoga class that I found, which was just this magical person. And she's been doing this for 30 years, teaching pregnancy yoga. And it was much more a meditation and relaxation class, really. And we were actually practicing. I don't know what I would do without that, to be honest, to go through the first 3 days. And like even saying that, on the third day, I hit the dip. I remember just sitting on the couch with my tears falling down my face because I was so exhausted. Because the thing with long pre-labor and the oxytocin is that the oxytocin is higher during the nighttime. So that's when the contractions really start. So I didn't really sleep for 3 nights by then. And I was just really worried, if I'm this exhausted now, how am I ever going to actually give birth to this baby? But then, yeah, everything worked out well.
But I still think that there's so much to getting prepared to attending, a yoga class like you did, or a prenatal class, or a breastfeeding support class, anything before birth, because any of these classes will teach you how to mentally prepare yourself and how to channel your power and your inner strength to push through. Because I have so many mothers who call after the first contraction, which is normal for first time moms, right? But they're shocked when they're sent home after they arrive at the hospital, and they say it's too soon, you go home. But they don't know really what to do. They don't know what to expect, right? And they can get scared, and being scared only stalls the process of welcoming their baby, right? So this is amazing that there are opportunities for you in Australia, that you can actively yourself do them to help you mentally get prepared for birth. That's amazing.
Yeah, so like I said, so I did the prenatal yoga myself, but we also, like me and my partner, we did a 1-day workshop also, just to prepare, and he would be taught the massages and the techniques to help me through different stages of labor as well, even for the stage when a woman is close to a breakdown, when it gets really intense, how he can support her. And it was great to get on the same page, into that kind of same energy and mindset, what we expect to happen. And also the course, the prenatal course in the hospital was 10 weeks. So it was quite a long time when we were talking about it a lot, learning about what happens and how it goes, and all the possibilities, and just all the choice that you have actually coming to labor. What kind of measures do you want to take or not? Do you prefer, etc. So yeah, the preparation was absolutely crucial and helpful for myself.
Do you think how do you think your partner felt after you showed us the booklet you got for fathers to get prepared and what to do in certain situations with their soulmates, but also with themselves when they're having a harder time? Do you feel it helped you as a couple? And do you think did you feel more empowered knowing that he knows what to do, that he's got his role in this big event just as much as you do, and that you can count on him?
Yes, absolutely. That's I think a big part for me in our entire relationship, that I see him as this, the partner that I can rely on, the part that I can trust. and just, release any control and be absolutely in that moment. And the fact that he also read and learned about what I needed in the moment, that I needed, the peace, that just space to just go inwards, so that he can kind of manage everything outside, and just be this messenger or this middleman, was really, really great. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful to hear when, when partners are aligned, when they work together, they know what they need, they know what they want. I truly believe it can make a tremendous impact and difference in the birthing experience and the birthing outcome for you as the mother and the baby too.
Yes, exactly. Well, and the thing is that we were also aligned on kind of our expectation, because so my mindset, how I went to labor, was that I don't want to have a birthing plan, because I know so many people who had a birthing plan and it never goes to plan.
Yeah.
And it can actually create more anxiety.
Right.
Oh my God, it's not going as I wished.
Yeah.
And so there's already some resistance and some things to work through. So yeah, I even have a friend who runs hypnobirthing classes here in Slovakia. So I had support from her, and I, tried to prepare myself as much as I could. But I was open to anything that happens, because I was fortunate enough that many of my friends had children before me, so I could see the different stories, and I also saw kind of the damage that it left on some when they really, really wanted, a specific kind of experience, and for any kind of reason it didn't happen.
Right.
And then, the blame, like, what have I done wrong? What should I have done? I did differently. Like, how come it didn't work? Or so I just wanted to be open. I was thinking, yes, I wish for a natural birth, if that's, a way. Like, I do everything in my power to prepare for that, like practice with a ball and all of that. But if that's just not, possible for any kind of reason, I had the trust in the doctor that he would tell me, he knew that this is what I wish for, that I'm practicing, so that ideally I don't have an epiphany, but who knows, right? So I just wanted to have an open mind about that, and I think that helped me as well, not to have specific expectations, like the questions, will you want this or that kind of pain relief? Well, let's see, right? I don't know how I'll experience contractions, because everyone experiences them differently. So I was just open.
Amazing. So how did the actual birth, how did it, how did you experience it? Was it fast once it got to the pushing phase? What was your experience of it? Was it like you wished for? Was it an experience that you visualized? Was it similar? How was it?
Okay. So for both of my births, I think this is important to say, I actually had an epidural, because I think that makes quite a difference for that, how it feels towards the end. So for my first labor, because it's two different, very different experiences, funny enough. In the first one, so the long pre-labor went for ages, and then even when I was in hospital, even when they said, yes, you are, in active labor, because after 3 days of contractions, you're like 1 to 2 centimeters open. And then still, like, from like 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., it was still only 4 centimeters. So then, and we're like, okay, this is starting to get not great for the baby either, that it's taken so long. So I had the epidural with some oxytocin, and honestly, I could not be happier. I'm saying everywhere that saved my birth, saved like myself, saved my baby. because I snoozed, like I almost slept for 3-4 hours afterwards, so I could rest. And the contractions, properly kicked in. And after 4 hours, I woke up and they did a check and they were like, "You're 10." And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, you're ready. And to me, that was amazing.
Right. Yes, let's go.
Exactly. So then we were just, waiting to get really ready so that baby is in a really good position and everything. And the pushing took over half an hour in the first case, which again, I didn't have any comparison. I didn't know, so I didn't think that it takes long.
Right.
What
did you think? What did you think? How long it would take?
I didn't even think about it.
Short.
Yeah, you just, as long as it takes, right?
Right.
How long is a piece of string? And the thing is that so even though I had epidural, I could still kind of feel my belly, right? So it wasn't painful, but I could actually feel the contraction coming, right? So no, they didn't actually have to tell me, push now. I said, "Oh, it's coming," and they checked with the machine, and they were, "Oh yeah, actually, yeah." So now is a good time. And as I started pushing, I think I'll never forget this. After the first push, I just got so much praise, like how well I'm doing this, that I felt really empowered by that. And this is something that goes along my whole experience with being pregnant and giving birth, and the care after birth, is the enormous amount of support and encouragement and nurturing that the midwives are really there for us as moms, right? That they really care about us and the babies. And if it's like, is now a good time to, I don't know, measure your temperature, or is now a good time to do this or that. So yeah, so I was pushing for quite some time, and then what was happening is that my daughter was coming up again every time, quite high. So eventually they used the vacuum to help me a bit. And yeah, I was just pushing happily, not knowing that with with the contractions I was actually pooping as well, because there's nothing like how do you say klister in English? They don't do it, right? It's just not a thing.
Right.
And that's another thing that I just find really nice. It's just all very natural, and nothing's a big deal. And then when my daughter was born, and they put her on me, I was just saying, like, in Slovak, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god," and the doctor was looking with the midwife, and my husband is just saying to them, "Oh, don't worry, that's fine, that's okay, that's good," because they didn't understand what I was saying.
Right. It's just you're absolutely natural.
Oh well.
You don't think about it, like you don't care at that moment.
Yeah, it felt like such a miracle. And the obstetrician with the midwife were such a great team. It was like they just looked at each other and they knew, this is what we're doing. I actually remember, like, I recall the obstetrician telling me, like, I'm sorry, but I have to do this to like cut me. So again, I trusted him that it was necessary, right? My daughter had quite a big head, but it came like with a very honest, authentic, and pathetic apology.
Right.
So it was very respectful, even though I wasn't asked specifically if I wanted or not. But it was in a stage where I completely trusted him, and I knew if he's doing it, it means it's necessary. And I think because of I was practicing with the ball, even my recovery was just brilliant. honestly fantastic. And I had quite a lot of stitches. So yeah, and then my daughter was there. And this was all happening in this birthing suit, which was like a big hotel room. So there was the birthing bath and a bathroom with a shower where I also spent quite some time, and and a bowl and this bed that you could switch positions in, like off the bed as well. And there was a couch for the partner to have a snooze while it happens. And you always had a midwife like around for anything you need. But they completely left me, and they kept just saying, we just let you do your thing, right? Just do whatever you need. So they asked me if I want any like candles, of course not proper, but electric candles, just for the atmosphere. If I want any music, if I want any essential oils, they like dimmed the whole room with curtains. So there is that kind of safe, cozy space. It doesn't feel so like clean, like a hospital.
Right, absolutely. Feels like home.
Yeah, as much as possible, really.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
And we then stayed at in that birthing suite for another 5-6 hours, just like bonding with her, for me and for my husband, etc. And then they actually took my daughter to in the NICU. But yeah, it was all very kind of beautiful and slow. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. This is such a wonderful story that, despite the interventions that you needed to go through, that you felt like you needed and that they would help you actually, despite those, you didn't have a negative experience from what I'm hearing. It didn't affect you, and it's incredible how, I truly do believe that your support system around birth that you have can make or break your birth. And I truly believe that, because so much, so little can go such a long way. Like you said, the praise that you got for your first push, I mean, that just charges you for 5 more pushes. And yeah, like I said, like one little word can go such a long way, because it matters, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I really didn't feel like just a piece of meat, to say it really ugly, but even with the care afterwards, really, that support with breastfeeding, amazing support there, lots of patience. And so when my daughter was in the NICU, they would always call me, when she wakes up or when she needs a feed, even though they had to give her formula immediately as well, but they always call me in to breastfeed first. And at one of the times, as I was coming to the NICU ward on a wheelchair, because I couldn't feel my legs actually with the first epidural. So my husband was pushing me, and there was a doctor walking with our baby in her arms, like around the ward. And she said that they were just taking turns, because our baby was crying a lot in the crib, and they said she just loves being held. And I was just so grateful, that this is how they see it. Oh, the baby needs something, right? How we can make it happen.
Right.
So,
That's cool. Well, we have a couple more minutes left. Would you like to tell us your second birth? Was it faster? Was it shorter? Or what's the experience with that?
Yeah, it was absolutely faster. I was thinking everything has to be faster than that.
Right.
So, even I was told later again by my friends that for a second birth it was still relatively long, but it was just way faster. And again, with all the pain relief in both, like in the first case, I used it all, But the thing is, here in Slovakia, they only offer epidural, which
Right.
in Australia is the last resort. So first, I had gas. So I just had a gas and oxygen, which helped me for like 4 hours to breathe better through it. And then there was morphine.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I had some of that. So it was like gradually as you go,
Right.
how much do you need? Which also I felt like it gives me more choice, and I was just more in peace with that rather than going straight towards the last thing. But after the first experience for the second, I knew exactly that I want epidural,
Mhm.
uh, because I really loved the end of my first birth. Because honestly, like we say, if it's great at the end, everything's great.
Right.
When you look backwards,
Yeah.
that really just made the whole experience happy for me.
Mhm.
And so yeah, my second daughter was born much quicker, and on like 3 pushes with 3 contractions, and she was there.
Wow, amazing.
They actually had to tell me to like pause, push a little
Mhm.
slower so that she's not out too quickly.
Right.
But yeah, and then she didn't have to go to the NICU, so we could be together from the first moment, just full on.
Amazing. So you were able to room in with your daughter.
Yes,
Wonderful.
yes, and my husband.
Amazing. What would you say, how would you rate it? How would you rate the Slovakian healthcare system in relation to taking care of a pregnant, mother to be, with the
Mhm.
UK system and the Australian? Which one is the best for you?
Well, I'd say that if I could, for any women, for all the women, I would wish they could give birth in Australia, because that just felt
Mhm.
like a different world. Which even my husband said so, and he's British, and he had a previous experience with his son being born in the UK.
Mhm.
So he knew what the environment and everything is like there, and even he said that this is a whole different level. So I feel like that's the best option. But saying that, I have friends in Slovakia who have a great experience.
Right.
Right. So it's not to say that generally, you'll have a bad experience in Slovakia, because you won't. Right. Because again, you can make a lot of preparation work yourself. You can find all the courses, all the people, or the doulas, to really get ready mentally, emotionally, and physically as much as possible. And at least you can choose where you want to give birth, into some extent, and that makes a huge difference, I think, in Slovakia. And again, it depends on a specific place or even a specific doctor, right, that you have.
Absolutely.
So it's about people, not the system. Like, the system is not supporting them. I would say the system is not supportive in Slovakia, but there are great people who can make the experience great as well.
Absolutely. It does really start with your healthcare provider and who you choose to be on your birth dream team, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. If you have that trust, if that they'll do that, they'll have your best interest in mind, or your baby's best interest in mind. So I think that that bit of respect just goes a long way. So I just the thing is that just in Australia, that's the standard.
Yes.
That's what you get in a public system. You get a beautiful experience, whereas it's not such a general experience in Slovakia, from what I know.
Right. Amazing, Petra. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful birth stories with us and telling us about the differences and how it felt for you. And even with interventions, you can have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful birthing experience. And yeah, I mean, I love hearing stories like these. I love it. Even if there is fear, there is, it every contraction brings you closer to your baby, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
And channeling your inner strength and feeling empowered. I think that's really the secret to a wonderful birthing experience. So thank you for sharing that with us today and for taking the time. And yeah, thank you. I hope
You're very, very welcome. I think it's just great to talk about it, because it's great to see that it's possible.
Absolutely.
It is possible, but yes, there are changes or whatever to be made. Thank you very much for the lovely conversation.
All right, well, bye everyone. I'll see you next time with another amazing guest. And just like that, the time has passed and we have come to an end. So if you enjoyed watching this episode, please hit the subscribe button and help me share and spread the word together. If you have a story you would like to share with me, or you know about someone who has a unique birth story or an expert insight into the perinatal period, please let me know. You can reach me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or via my email address, birthwithviviane@gmail.com. I'll be very excited to hear from you. Again, thank you for watching, and until next time, bye.